Muhammad Buhari has done his part, and the legacy must be preserved. This is a country that forgets too often.
More than a book launch, it was a political roll call, a reunion of power players, and a spark for fresh controversy. Former presidential spokesman Garba Shehu launched his long-awaited memo. According to the president, lessons from a presidential spokesman's experience. From Vice President Atiku Abubakar to President Muhammadu Buhari, Garba Shehu's book offers rare insight into 2 decades of life at Nigeria's political center. But beyond the dignitaries and high praise, there were comments that triggered intense debate. One of the most striking moments yesterday came from former Secretary to the Government of the Federation, Boss Mustafa, who reminded the crowd that President Buhari already had 12 million plus loyal votes before the 2015 coalition and that only 3.2 million were added after APC was formed. Some see this as an indirect challenge to narrative surrounding President Tinubu's 2015 influence. Tonight, we go beyond the pages of the new book and beyond the headlines. Mr. Garba Shehu joins me on the program to explore all of this development. Congratulations on your book launch and welcome to the show.
Thank you very much for giving us this opportunity, and I wish you the same.
Well, glad to have you on the show again. This isn't the first book on Buhari's presidency. Your colleague Femi Adesina gave his own account not long ago. Why do you feel the need to write your version now, 2 years after President Buhari left office?
Well, 2 things. One is that there can never be too many books on a presidency that spanned over 8 years. I think at the event yesterday, someone did mention, Professor Gambari said 1,500 books had been written on one of the American presidents. So we want to write about Buhari so that the legacies he left behind will be preserved, so that there will be knowledge about what he did in those 8 years. And those of us who had the privilege of being around him for 8 years, up close, we need to bring him to the people of Nigeria, let them have a better understanding of the kind of person he is. But besides this, it is also important that being given the privilege to rise and go to the highest level of government and to serve, let us bring our experiences to younger people, students of journalism, public relations, and even those senior journalists and media workers who will find themselves in similar positions as we had, in which case then they might find those things that we did well, they will be beneficial to them. The mistakes that we made, they can learn from them and make their own corrections.
So you have said that it's not just a biography, but a guide for young journalists. But let's be honest, Mr. Shehu, some see it as a reputation management exercise. Are you still laundering your principal's image?
Am I still, you have to repeat that.
Well, I'm asking if you are still very active in the image-making business for President Buhari. Is that what this book is all about?
Sure, it is correct to say that, yes, that I am his official spokesperson as we speak now.
Oh, so I saw an interview where you said at some point you were walking on eggshells because some saw you as an Atiku man and that you didn't criticize Atiku because it would have sent a wrong message to President Buhari. What was it like switching allegiance that fast? Were you caught in a loyalty conflict?
No, it was not a loyalty conflict. But, and this thing about working eggs certainly had absolutely nothing to do with President Muhammadu Buhari, whose confidence and the trust I enjoyed throughout these 8 years that I worked with him. But you know, in politics, anything happens. The courtiers around power can do so many things that can destabilize unauthorized things, and so what we are saying is that there were some of them there who still saw you from where you came from, that you had worked with Atiku, and they think that you are not good enough, that kind of thing. However, as I had enjoyed absolute support and absolute confidence of the president while I worked with him.
Interesting way you have put it, and I've heard that narrative as well. But what's your current relationship like right now with Abubakar, with Atiku Abubakar? I see that he was physically present at your launch yesterday.
He was my boss in the second term of President Olusegun Obasanjo, and we didn't just part with him because we didn't like one another or there was a conflict. When Muhammadu Buhari won the primaries, all of the candidates in that election said, we are handing over our media assets to go and help you to win, including media assets of President Bola Ashwaju Tinubu. So we were assembled to work with Buhari, and we won the election. And after we won, he said, please come and serve in my government. I served with Atiku Abubakar. It is culturally unacceptable to some of us. It may be acceptable to some. I remember I also learned an important lesson from the late Duro Onabule. Duro Onabule was MKO Abiola's right-hand man, and Onabule as editor in Concord and all of that. And he was working with the President Babangida until things fell apart, the annulment. And so, for one day, did you ever hear Duro Onabule go against MKO Abiola? And if he did, and as he advised me when I was assuming this office, what would Buhari have thought of me if I went on attack against Atiku? He would then assume that his day will one day come, and I will also be on attack against him.
It's just that 8 years after working for President Buhari, you did not return to Atiku Abubakar. You're still with him. I'm wondering if you are aware that he intends to run for presidency in 2027. Perhaps your services might still be needed. Do you still consider that? Because sometimes when you look at all of these details, switching camps, Dana Bwala also moved from defending Atiku to embracing Tinubu. It has raised conversations about the fluidity or fragility of political loyalty in Nigeria. Will you, for instance, work again for Atiku, as he runs in 2027?
Let me tell you, if you have integrity, I'm not pretending that I have. People should judge for themselves. I think a man should serve only one master at a time. You cannot serve two masters at the same time. Otherwise, you are deceiving yourself or you are deceiving them.
Which master are you serving right now?
I'm with Muhammadu Buhari.
Okay. And you don't see that change in the nearest future, let's say in the next 2 years?
I don't want to be speculative on anything. God knows what happens tomorrow. However, what I'm saying is that if you are looking to making example of me with some of the characters you just mentioned a short while ago, I am not in that mold. As a matter of fact, when I speak for Buhari these days, I do so out of a commitment to a leader who gave me his absolute trust. And I feel that he needs my support. Otherwise, I would have done as many others did, walk away and start something else. But I'm happy that I'm still on his side. He doesn't need much of what we used to do in the... He's not as active politically as you had before. Certainly not as president. So that even the statements we make on his behalf, you can see that they are very occasional and specific. We don't want to meddle into... Otherwise, people will think that there are two presidents in the country. No, the president of the country at the moment is President Bola Ahmed Tinubu, and the President Muhammadu Buhari will not be contesting the space with him.
But both of them belong to the same political party, so it is expected that the former president provides some sort of big brother role to the current president. I'd like to get your take on how you think President Tinubu's spokespersons are doing right now. There are 3 of them. You have been in their shoes before. Looking back, how are they faring on the job?
No, please don't drag me into that one. You know, all of them, Sunday Dare, Bayo Onanuga, Daniel, and Tunde Rahman and Abdulaziz, all of them have been my friends over the years. And for God's sake, we belong to the same political party and the same government. So if I have an advice for them, I and them will go into a room and lock ourselves into that room and speak truth to one another. No, it's not for me to go on television to begin to assess or advise them. I will do so privately.
Have you had such episodes where you've had to call them behind closed doors to speak truth to them?
I speak to virtually all of them on matters of common interest. We maintain communication between ourselves, and I commend them for remaining open to me whenever I call. They pick my calls.
Beyond the new book you have launched, I'm sure you are aware that the launch yesterday is already curtaining some controversy, especially the statement made by the former Secretary to the Government of the Federation, who mentioned that it was his recommendation that culminated into your appointment as spokesperson. He specifically mentioned that President Buhari already had about 12 million plus votes before the 2015 coalition, and that the merger only added 3.2 million to him. That's being read as an attempt to downplay President Tinubu's contribution. I'm sure you're following all of the headlines that followed this morning. Do you agree with that reading?
No, absolutely no. Look, let me see. There's a lot of mischief in these things and sensationalism on the part of journalists. The speech by the former Secretary to the Government of the Federation is currently running on YouTube, and listen to it. He did not at any point mention Bola Ahmed Tinubu. In fact, in some of the stories that I have seen on TV are so downright condemnatory of President Tinubu, that he had done nothing of substance to support Buhari in 2015, that he played no role in all of that. That's absolute rubbish. The thing Boss Mustafa was trying to point at is that statistically and arithmetically, this is how the votes were assembled. And I've seen someone from the presidency, although he didn't speak in a manner that was angry, trying to say, well, the primary was won because Tinubu had come in. And I was saying to myself, these 2 gentlemen, Boss Mustafa and the guy from the president, one is saying this is 6, the other one is saying this is half a dozen. It's the same story. Buhari himself had said many times, I ran once, second and third times, I did not get it. It is the merger that we had that brought all of us together that made me win the presidency. And to be fair to Bruce Mustafa, if the reporters who casted these nasty headlines would go back to what he said about 3 times, what I'm going to say may create controversy. The merger was formulated for Buhari presidency. It was formulated to prosecute Buhari presidency. What's to that effect? So it is not in doubt that partners came together and put together a party that was now in a position to challenge PDP after 16 years and won the election. Nobody is denying anybody any role.
I agree with you to an extent.
It's also important that sometimes we moderate the language in which we speak as politicians. I'm not saying this of Boss Mustafa. I'm saying
yes.
Some of the people that run around politicians, everyone had played a role in accordance with the positions that they held at that time. We won the election, and we ran government for 8 years, and our party won yet again, and we're in office. We hope for another 8 years.
I agree with you that there was a bit of sensationalism. I don't think the former SGF even mentioned President Tinubu at all during the speech. But people are reading meanings to the fact that he said the coalition brought only 3.2 million, suggesting that Buhari came into that contest with all of the votes that he needed. But do you think personally that your boss would have won without a Tinubu support in 2023?
No, it's not for me. Let me say this. I don't want to be dragged into the ring and be a contestant as well. Can I make myself clear? President Muhammad Buhari won once. He contested 1, 2, 3 times, and although he had large number of votes, 12.7 in the first instance, 6.6 because the election results were written in that year. But he came back and got, in the third time, 12.2 million votes. The question to say, did he have the national interest, the national spread to have won the election? I would say no. And did the merger bring states in the south that helped him to achieve 25% as prescribed by the Constitution? Yes, it did.
Your book launch is coming at a very interesting time in our political history as a nation. You are quite close to many of President Buhari cabinet members. I'm wondering what you make of that recent rush of Buhari loyalists into the coalition called the ADC.
Oh, is there a rush going on? I'm not aware there is a rush.
Well, I can count that from the top of my head about 5 of them that we saw at that announcement party.
So you are talking about, if you are talking about the ministers, President Buhari had a cabinet of about 40 or so. If 5 take an exit, would you say that there is a rush? Let me say this. From the point of view of, I think that my understanding of Muhammad Buhari, he doesn't act like a sergeant major or whatever they call them in the military. He is not an enforcer who will call people and sit them down and say, you must do this political action, not this other political action. Even as he was president, I'm sure you recall that we had very interesting incidents in at least 2 states that I can recall. Imo State, where Governor Rochas Okorocha did something that was different from what the APC was doing. And in Ogun State, we also had Senator Amosun, with the APM or whatever they called that political party. They were still President Buhari's friends. They came to his house and they had meetings and they discussed governance and the party issues. So let me say this, that please, individuals may choose to act contrary to what Muhammadu Buhari stands for. It's normal. We are not dictators. So we shouldn't get rattled because 1 or 2 have said they are going somewhere. But others are also coming into the party. You can see that, can't you?
I do. But you are close to President Buhari. And Nigerians are curious, just to know how he really feels about this presidency. Has he been in touch with President Tinubu? Is he supportive of his policies? Bring us into what you know about how he feels about this administration.
Let me say this. We have said this over and over again, and I'm not sure it will make sense that one keeps repeating oneself. President Muhammadu Buhari is an APC member. The first and last conversations I had with him clearly indicate that he's grateful to the party that gave him 2 terms in office. After he had tried 1, 2, 3 times without success, he will not betray his political party. President Tinubu is an APC president. President Buhari is an APC member. The thing that most people don't know is that leaders at that level, when they talk to one another, and this is not just in Nigeria, even in America, the level of conversation and dialogue taking place between serving and the former presidents is only known to them. We don't know. But from all that I know that President Muhammadu Buhari is an APC member, and the president of the party is a member of his party, and he has a duty to support him, and he's been doing this.
Now, the reason why we're raising this again, and you are a veteran journalist yourself, you are aware of what's on the news, the fact that there are some perceptions and some corners that your principal may not support another Tinubu presidency in 2027, or even worse, blessing the opposition. What can you honestly tell us about that?
No, don't go there. Let them say whatever people want to say. They should allow President Buhari to speak for himself. Nobody can speak for him except himself.
So Babachi Lawal, former Secretary to the Government of the Federation, another insider in the Buhari government, was on the show earlier this week, and he mentioned that some APC governors are secretly supporting the ADC. Is that something you're hearing too?
Well, maybe he attends their meetings and he knows what they are doing. I am not a party to any conversation with governors who are talking to ADC. And I assure you that when they do those meetings, they won't allow me to know that it is happening, because it will not be of interest to me.
So as we speak now, you are with the APC and you don't have plans of leaving, do you?
Where would I go to? Certainly, APC is our party. As I said, the principal, Muhammadu Buhari, is solidly APC, and we are with him. That's what I want to say.
Before we let you go, what's that one lesson you hope that every young journalist or media aide takes away from your book? What would you do differently also if you had to do it all over again?
There are so many of them, and I don't know maybe at what point you will stop me when I start. But the important thing is the journalist should realize that he himself is a messenger, is a representative of the public, and when he's out there interviewing people or knocking on doors, he is doing so on behalf of the larger public who have sent him or her to go and fetch story and bring back to them. Arrogance is not for a journalist. We should conduct ourselves with great deal of humility. And as I said somewhere, if you are speaking for a leader or even a manager of some government or public interest, don't feel too big to respond to public's questions. Answer the telephone, because the journalist that comes to you with a question, he is doing that big favor to you, which you must pick up. Because if you don't answer, if you don't talk to him or her,
all right,
that person will still go and talk to some other people. And those other people he talks to may be people who don't like you.
All right.
And they will say things that you don't like, and it will take, as a PR man, maybe several months to clean up.
All right. This is the point where I stop you, Mr. Shehu, because we have completely run out of time. But I guess we'll pick a copy of your book to get more of your thoughts on this topic. A big thank you. Thank you so much for talking to us, Garba Shehu, former a spokesperson of former President Muhammadu Buhari.
Thank you so much. I appreciate this. Thank you.
We have to go, everyone, from Dutse to Villa, from Atiku to Buhari, and now from silence to storytelling. Garba Shehu has seen power up close and spawned the narratives that shaped it. But tonight, beyond the press releases and speeches we've heard him give over the years, we've also heard from the man behind the mic, whether you agree with him or not. His story adds another layer to how we understand power and politics in Nigeria. Thank you for being part of the conversation. This is Beyond the Headlines. See you next time.